Hello everyone, welcome back to AB Aquariums. I thought I'd show you the 8-foot tank, how it's coming along, what I've added and how I've changed the scape. So let's dive in and have a little look at it, shall we? Okay, so I did give a rough overview of the tank on that video before, but I wanted to give a little bit of a better insight into what we're really dealing with here and just how massive it really is. I mean, I'm fairly used to the size of it now, but when you think about it, it's a lot of water sat in your living room. But yeah, so it's 8 foot long, 30 inches front to back, so 2.5 feet, and 2 feet tall, 24 inches. So yeah, there's about 300 gallons of water in there. So yes, a fair volume, it's a fair sized tank, and it's pretty much, well, it's literally the biggest tank I could fit in my house without it being absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's already fairly ridiculous, especially with a 6-footer tank sitting next to it, but yeah. It's fairly ridiculous as it is, but it's worked out all right, and touch wood, everything seems to be going well, and it's doable just about. So in terms of the aquascape, I have changed it a little bit. There was a lot of wood in there. Well, to be fair, there was only 3 pieces of wood, but there were big, large, rotting pieces of wood, and I didn't really realise how rotten they were until I put them in, and it would just always go dark brown straight away, no matter how many times you change the water, which isn't a slow feat to change 50% of the water and fill it back up again. Getting the water out isn't too bad, because you can use something like a big pump and an 1.5 inch hose, which is what I do now. The water comes out in about 10-15 minutes, get it down to 40-50%, but you're really pumping the water out. But filling it back up can take a couple of hours, you know. Well, maybe not a couple of hours, maybe not quite as long as that, but it takes a lot longer to fill the water back up, because my house is only supplied by like 1/2 inch to 3/4 hose. So there isn't really much flow to get out of the house in terms of filling the tank back up. But yeah, getting the water out of the tank, that's the fast bit. But yeah, in terms of the scape, we've got some big old boulders, some big stones. Nothing too crazy in terms of like an actual pretty scape. I've literally just laid some big stones in there, which are a bit sketchy lifting in there, to be fair. That one there in particular is ridiculously heavy. Probably shouldn't have lifted that in on my own. It was probably a very stupid thing to do, but it's done now, and I will definitely be being a lot more careful when it comes to getting out again. But yeah, it's sitting on the sand, the weight is spread, everything seems to be going well. So apart from the stones, I've got one large piece of wood in there now. I did have two big large pieces of boglewood that were rotting away in there, and really were making the water parameters go through the roof in terms of the nitrite spikes I kept getting from the wood, from the organic material just rotting away in there, and the biomedia not being able to keep up. So since I've removed them, the nitrites are back at 0, and we've got a little bit of nitrate visible. So yeah, we're all good again. So yeah, I don't have to keep doing daily or every other day 50% water changes on an 8 foot 300 gallon tank, which isn't really ideal. So yeah, that's happy days. So yeah, there's a 5 foot long piece of pine in there, an old dead piece of pine branch there. The reason I think it's pine is because there was a small piece of bark left on it that looked very much like pine bark. So I assume it's Scotch pine that it was originally, that fell in a lake some years ago. And I bought a job lot of driftwood, and that was amongst it, so I had to have it. So yeah, that looks quite nice in there. I quite like it when the tinfoil barbs swing through it and do their thing. But in terms of the stocking, which I've just alluded to, I've given away a little bit of what I've got in there. I've got a group of 6 tinfoil barbs that went in there really small. They must have been only, what, 1 inch to 1.5 inches long, so they were pretty small, and they're already probably getting on for nearly 3 inches. These tinfoil barbs, these 6 tinfoil barbs, have already doubled in size. It's kind of crazy how quick they're growing. They've only been in there for a month, maybe less than a month, maybe 3 weeks, and they're already double the size they were when I got them, pretty much. So they're growing fast. They eat anything you put in there. I feed mainly frozen food now. I was feeding some veggie pellets, which they'll scoff down as well as the little black shark there. Yep, so that's the other fish I've got in there recently. A recent addition was the black shark. That will get, eventually, given enough time, it could get up to 2 feet long. So it will get a fair size, but we've got 2.5 feet front to back to deal with an 8 feet long tank. So I'd like to hope it should be its forever home. I'm hoping so anyway. So yeah, that should be a nice addition. Well, nice to watch that grow. And we're going to have a few Oscars. So far I've got 2 Oscars in here. I've got little Aussie, the tiger Oscar, and his mate behind him, which I haven't named yet, which is even smaller than Aussie. So these guys, Aussie must be what, 3 inches or so long? He's not very big. And then you've got the little guy behind him, which is like a copper colour. You can't really see him because he's hiding behind. He'll probably get the last of the food. But yeah, he's got a little bit of copper going on his back end. You probably see him coming. There we go. You see a little bit of the copper colour, a little bit of reddy copper on his back end. But yeah, he was the little baby that I bought recently. And we've got the Severums. There's 2 Severums in here. There's the green Severum, or red shoulder, red bellied green Severum, whichever you want to call it. This is the smaller one of the 2. Yeah, he's doing well. They're both eating very well. The 2 Severums are eating very well anyway. Everyone seems to be doing very well and getting along with each other. And if you can see there in the background, there's an Enlacari Baisha, or Bashir. That can get up to 2 feet long eventually, given enough time. Maybe 18 inches to 2 feet, probably just over 2 feet if in the wild. So yeah, they can get a fair size. So that'd be nice to watch that guy grow. And there is a Senegal Baisha in here as well, which can get just over a foot, maybe 14, 15 inches long. So that would be quite nice to watch that one fill out as well. But there is also a sailfin pleco, which does like to hide quite a bit in the rocks and behind the wood. But there's the other Severum, which is slightly larger than the other one. He likes to hide. This is his little corner that he's made his own. Yeah, so those 2 are getting along really well. So he's slightly larger than the other Severum. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, my favourite fish to watch in here so far is the tinfoil barbs. They're just so active, and they're always schooling around, especially when the Severums start to sort of spar, or not spar, but like, you know, sort of make each other move quickly across the tank, or chase, not chase, but you know, like just gentle aggression, should we call it. The tinfoils sort of group up and school together, which is quite nice to watch them do in their natural sort of way, I suppose, in a tank given this sort of size. They've got plenty of space to school around. Yeah, so there you have it, guys. That's what I've ended up with so far. It's changed a few times over the past few weeks, but I'm going to keep changing it up, to be fair. I'm going to move the rocks around again if I'm careful enough, and maybe move the wood. The wood is still sinking. It's not fully sunk yet. I've got some rocks holding it down there, and I've got a rock cable tied to it that I'm trying to hide, holding that end down. So it isn't fully submerged yet, so it might need a few more weeks or months to fully become waterlogged. But yeah, that's what we've ended up with so far, and it's only just going to progress from there, and hopefully become more interesting, and we'll add a few more fish and see how it's coming along. But there you have it, guys. The 300 gallon or 1100 litres 8-foot aquarium, and that's what we've come up with so far. Love to hear your comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.